and welcome to Past, Present and Future. I'm Russell Hurn. In the last few months, remote working has embraced the butterfly hug as a method of self-administered bilateral stimulation, enabling EMDR therapy to continue to bring healing to clients around the world during a time of isolation and separation. Well, today we talk to a man who's become synonymous with the butterfly hug and its integration into individual and group treatment protocols. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Ignacio, aka Nacho Jarero. Dr. Nacho, hola.
Hola, Ross. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure to talk to you. We're obviously going to talk about the butterfly hug in great detail a little bit later, along with some of your current research and training as well. But first, can you share us the story about how you came into the EMDR community?
Yes, with pleasure, Ross. Let me tell you that it was September 1997, when my wife, Lucy Artigas, the butterfly hug originator, and I were attending a conference in systemic therapy in Mexico City. At that time, we were individual and couple therapists, and we lived frustrated when traumatized clients looked for our support and we couldn't help them. So walking around the conference hall, we saw a little sign, a really little sign, in a classroom with the letters EMDR. And because we are curious, we enter a room with a dozen persons. A woman from the US living at that time near Mexico City talked about the wonders of EMDR to treat traumatized persons. So at the end of her presentation, Lucy and I approached her and she told us very confident that Dr. Francine Shapiro trained her and gave to her the authorization to train the part 1 training because she had not yet taken part 2 of the training. So she was part 1 training. As you can see, at that moment, we didn't know that she was lying to us. And the next week, she trained us in the EMDR part 1. Fortunately, she used the EMDR Institute manual, and we learned all the correct information because she used the EMDR Institute manual. It was until next year, 1998, when Lucy and I realized that she was lying to us, and we took the full official EMDR basic training.
So it sounds like it was completely unplanned and rather unusual journey for you, but we're certainly glad that you joined the EMDR community and have contributed so much to it. And I guess what we would feel has contributed the most is this butterfly hug. I understand that, 1998, around that time when you were doing the original training, there was also the Hurricane Paulina in Acapulco in Mexico. And that was where the butterfly hug was born. And that was on the spur of the moment. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, with pleasure. From October 5 to 10, 1997, Hurricane Pauline devastated the Guerrero and Oaxaca coast of Mexico. It is one of the deadliest Eastern Pacific hurricanes in recorded history. When Lucy and I saw the devastation on the TV, we felt literally fire in the belly. And we organized a group of Mexican colleagues to provide humanitarian services in Acapulco. Acapulco is 4 hours away from Mexico City by car. We also invited the woman who trained us in EMDR Part 1, and she invited 1 Canadian and 1 American colleagues that both were financially supported by the Humanitarian Assistance Program, the HAP program, founded by Dr. Francine Shapiro. So the first group, integrated by 5 colleagues, arrived in Acapulco City in February 1998. I remember driving toward the venue the Acapulco government facilitated us, talking with our colleagues about our clinical agenda, thinking that each one of us will have 5 to 6 clients a day. And because we were already trained in EMDR with the fake trainer, yes, we didn't know about that she was a fake, our work will be a piece of cake. Just imagine, we really believe we were trained and that with the knowledge we had, we could cope with the situation. I bless my ignorance at this moment. A lot of energy, and a lot of ignorance, more ignorance than energy. But happens that once we arrived at the venue, we saw hundreds of persons and we did not realize that they were waiting for us until we approached the multitude. So it was shocking. So the idea was to give group techniques. For example, the light stream during the day, breathing exercises, a lot of women with children from different distant parts of Acapulco City that travel with a lot of difficulties, really, really poor person. So it was the only opportunity we will have to give them support, the only opportunity. So we talk about the breathing exercises with a lot of children crying. Just imagine 200 persons, hot, the venue. I was leading the hurricane survivors in an exercise called the light stream technique. I will read Lucy's words about what happened. Lucy said, Nacho asked me to bring closure to the exercise. I was happily playing with the small 4-year-old boy who, between laugh and spontaneous hugs, asked me, and when you return home, who will hug me? I put myself in the center of the circle of people, and in a moment of inspiration, I answered him with the butterfly hug. To our Aztec Mexican culture, the butterfly symbolized the soul of the vital breath of the warriors and served as a reference to that which is limitless.
Wow. That's such a lovely story, and really one that's seems to be full of compassion. I can actually feel my heart kind of vibrating to that story. I was just thinking when you were telling that, wasn't the first experience you had of using your EMDR after your training, was it?
Yes, it was the first experience after using the.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so no wonder it was quite a shock.
After the fake training and the part one of the fake training.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm really glad you had that fire in the belly because you needed something to help you get through. Gosh.
Yeah.
So I understand that the butterfly hug has a number of these kind of very emotive and compassionate stories that goes with it, and how it's been used after disasters. Can you tell us a few more?
Yes, of course. I will share with you one Lucy wrote, and these are her words. The title of the story is Your Arms Are Also My Wings. In a town in Acapulco, Guerrero, a cloudy morning sky blended with the grief of many people gathered in the atrium of the church to do a group exercise. 2 young brothers, 18 and 16 years of age, survivors of Hurricane Paulina, choose not to participate in the group dynamic. They only observe from afar. When the exercise concludes, the younger sibling comes closer to talk to me, to Lucy, and asks, How is it then that my brother could do the butterfly hug if he has no arms? Why he has no arms? Because of the Hurricane Paulina, the family, father, mother, and 4 brothers, 18, 16, 7, and 5 years of age, were awake, trying to survive the river overflowing, and the water rushes with great fury, overwhelming everything in its path. First, the water takes the park. Along with a large part of the house, they all share. The eldest son, the 18 years old, does everything he possibly can to save his 3 brothers. He only succeeds in keeping the 16 years old at his side. The other 2 were swept away by water and mud, leaving the boy aching with enormous emotional and physical suffering. The rescue of the 2 brothers takes 2 days, and when they finally arrive at the hospital, the arms of the older brother were already gangrenous and have to be amputated because he was holding the 3 brothers, making a lot of effort for hours and hours and hours and hours. So he lost his 2 arms. Lucy mentioned that after listening to him, the 16 years old, narrate his history, she asked if they could both join her in showing the brother with no arm how to do the butterfly hug. First, Lucy asked the younger brother if he realized that his brother was motivated by a great love when he rescued him from the flood. And without hesitation, he answered, yes, of course. Then Lucy assured him that he will respond in kind to his brother. So Lucy asked the 16 years old brother to place behind his older brother, who was sitting in a chair, wrapping his arms around his shoulders in such a way that his left cheek remained in contact with the right cheek of his brother. And then, with a slow and deep synchronized breaths, he crossed his arms over his brother's chest and lovingly begins to do the butterfly hug for him.
Oh, that's so amazing.
That story. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very moving.
Dr. Francine Shapiro at an EMDR conference narrated this story, and she was crying. And at the end, she said, we all EMDR therapy must be the arms of the brother helping other person. She said that. We all therapists must follow this example and be in the arms to help others who are suffering with the EMDR therapy.
Oh, what a wonderful legacy and a wonderful story. I was just thinking it's now had such an impact, the butterfly hug, and particularly at this time, because as soon as lockdown came and everyone had to start thinking how to perform EMDR online, it was one of the first solutions that was offered to the community. And I remember Mark Brain's very in-depth video that he did with Jamie Marish at that time, just sort of saying how he was using the butterfly hug. And since then, there's been lots of technical versions, but I must admit, I've tried those and come back now to the butterfly hug. And I was wondering what you thought were the benefits of using the butterfly hug for reprocessing during online therapy.
Thank you for the question, Ross. During online EMDR therapy, the butterfly hug specific instruction is, please do the butterfly hug Observe what is happening to you without judging or trying to change it. Stop when you feel in your body that it has been enough, and lower your hands to your legs. Okay? So, the instruction to stop when you feel in your body that it has been enough keeps the patient inside his or her window of tolerance. Clients have total control over their bilateral stimulation. It is thought that the control obtained by clients over their bilateral stimulation may be an empowering factor to aid their retention of a sense of safety while processing pathogenic memories. Also, clinical observations show that when using the butterfly hug during reprocessing phases, clients' hands change speed or even stop for a moment. Clients report no awareness of this. As a result, it is helpful for clinicians to observe this phenomenon and refrain from instructing clients to keep doing the bilateral stimulation. Lucy and I hypothesized that the adaptive information processing system is regulating the stimulation to maintain the client inside their window of tolerance, allowing for appropriate reprocessing. That's the answer.
Right. So the body knows what it needs.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes. Francine, Dr. Shapiro trained Lucy and me as a trainers, and she always mentioned, we not always know what is better for the client, but the AAP always knows what is better for the client.
AIP knows best.
AIP knows best. Yes, AIP knows best. She was humble. We not always know what is better, but trust your client's AIP. The AIP goes where it has to go. So we are trusting our client's AIP when we ask the client to stop when you feel in your body that it has been enough. And that is safety for the client and for us during online therapy. They will never go outside the window of tolerance. Okay? So trust the AAP, knows better.
I've noticed when I've seen people talking about the butterfly hug that sometimes there are variations. Some people use their arms, some people use their chest, and I wonder if the position is important.
Well, the answer, Ross, is yes. I believe the position is important, and the explanation will be in the answer to the next two questions.
Shall I ask those then? Okay.
Yes, so please ask the next question.
So I was going to say, what is it about the butterfly hug that seems to make it acceptable around the world?
Lucy believes that the butterfly hug is acceptable around the world because children, adolescents, and adults have in common a human body that is sensitive and grateful to the security provided by the warm feeling of the hands on the chest. Mm-hmm. Hands on the chest. Hands that gently touch when crossing the specific area where our heart is. The heart that gratefully receives the alternating clapping of the hands. If you do this in your arms or shoulders, you are not touching your heart.
That seems really important. And I've noticed mothers, if children are very upset, you just put a hand on their chest, and that can itself be a very kind of soothing and
Yes,
protective thing.
Ross, and it's instinctively mother not just put a hand. How many times you see mothers or you saying tapping?
There. Yeah.
But tapping, you see? Tapping.
Mm.
Bring it with rhythm in the chest is instinct.
So also around that chest area, obviously we've got a lot of acupuncture points, kidney points, stomach points. Do you think, is there any research that suggests that there's a link there to the acupressure points, or do you think it would be worth investigating?
Yeah, very interesting question, like all of your questions. From the acupuncture point of view, we have acupuncture points in many parts of our bodies. I have been informed that if you do the butterfly hug on your chest, if you look online for a chart of acupuncture points, you will see that on your chest, you are touching several points from the kidney and stomach channels. And those points from the kidney and stomach channels specifically are related to fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
However, if you touch on arms or shoulders, you don't touch these channels points. And yes, I would like to know more about this from an acupuncture expert that can explain what could happen if you are doing this, like digitopuncture. Now, from the working memory perspective, the butterfly hug is an active because it's a motor activity. If you see, it is not just like listening beep, 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 beep. No, the butterfly hug implies for the brain a motor activity, secondary task that indeed taxes the working memory, making the pathogenic memory less vivid and less emotional and somatic charge.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to some of that research in the future. It'd be very fascinating to find out if there are any further links. Thank you. You've given us such a great understanding of the butterfly hug and its origins. I was thinking more now about maybe the work that you're doing and exploring at the moment. I know you're working hard on the Telecare program for patients who are really kind of presenting with intense or overwhelming sensory or emotional material. What impact is the ASSYST remote program having? Can you give us some examples of how that's going?
Yes, with pleasure, Ross. I developed the acute stress syndrome stabilization procedures in April 2018 to provide online support to patients trapped in their houses in Nicaragua, in Central America, during a political crisis. The ASSYST remote procedures are AI-informed and tested physiological algorithmic approaches, specially designed to provide online support to persons who present intense or overwhelming sensory input, body sensations, or emotions, feelings. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the ASSYST remote procedures have been extensively used with patients that already are highly activated by sensory input. For example, with medical doctors that has images of their patient faces of fear when the doctors tell the patients that will be intubated, because the patients know that the possibility of that is a high possibility. Or the sound of the ventilators, constant beep, beep. The nurses, for example, beep, beep, or the many, many ventilators, or the smells of the cadavers, or body sensations. For example, the drowning sensation of the survivors of the COVID-19, or the intubation sensation in the throat, or overwhelming emotions, for example, panic, fear, uncertainty, anger. The patients mention that the images or the sounds or the smells or the body sensations are driving them crazy. They mention that they can't concentrate or sleep or think clearly, and certainly that they can't get rid of those somatic sensory components of the pathogenic memories. So the objective of the ASSYST procedure is focus on the client's nervous system activation regulation through the reduction or removal of the activation produced by the somatic sensory component of the pathogenic memory to achieve optimal levels of activation, thus facilitating the AAP system the subsequent natural adaptive processing of the information. Since March 2020, my team has provided online humanitarian support to 781 persons with the ASSYST procedures.
Wow.
And we keep providing services.
That's amazing and great to reach so many people at such a difficult time.
Yes, and specifically designed with intense or overwhelming emotions or somatic or sensory input. That's very important to keep in mind. Are not all memories that they doesn't want to remember. No, those components, for example, the images or the smells, are already in the working memory, in the short-term memory, every day, every night, 25 days, driving them crazy. So these procedures are like laser lights to dissolve those, that's metaphorically, to dissolve those components that are producing the hyperarousal of the nervous system.
Wow. Okay. And yeah, I think those symptoms you were describing, they're very raw and almost primal, those sights and smells. So that's some of the work that you're doing at the moment. But I also want to think about the future going forward. And of course, you're known for the butterfly hug and the integrative group treatment protocol. If we're thinking about going forward, how do you imagine the future? How do you manage the integration of the group protocol, the butterfly hug, working online? How do you see all that coming together?
Let me share with you all that the EMDR Integrated Group Treatment Protocol, or EMDR IGTP, was born just 1 week after the butterfly hug. The Acapulco government asked us to provide support to children from an elementary school 2 hours away from Acapulco City. When we arrived at that small town, we could not find the school because the school was destroyed by the hurricane. But the teachers improvised a school, putting tables behind a mango tree with the sea sand as a floor. So while part of the team members was talking with the teachers, figuring out how to provide individual EMDR treatment to all the 50 plus children, Lucy sat below a mango tree, and immediately a group of children surround her. That is one of Lucy's special powers. I have the pictures of that moment. So she asked them if they remember the Hurricane Paulina. All of them say yes, with fear in their faces. Then she asked what emotions they were feeling at that moment. Their answers were fear, anxiety. Then Lucy asked them to show her where do they were feeling those emotions in their bodies. Most of the children signaled the stomach and the chest. Then Lucy asked them to use their fingers and draw in the sand. Remember, they were sat on the sand floor. To draw in the sand what they were feeling now. With the fingers, they draw. Once they finish, Lucy asked the children to do the butterfly hug. She showed how, and to stop when they feel in their body that it has been enough. Once the children finished, Lucy asked them to erase with their hands the drawings in the sand and to draw with their fingers how they felt now. Then the children repeat the procedure several times. And suddenly, one by one say, I already feel okay. I have no fear anymore. I want to go to play. Incredible. So,
I mean, that's how every group should be completed, isn't it? Under a mango tree, drawing in the sand. That's my ideal group, I think.
yes, you see under a mango tree in the sand with the fingers. You only need your finger, basically, to do the integrated group treatment protocol and your hands.
Yeah.
So Lucy approached to the team and told us, I have the answer on how to treat these children. Let's go back to Acapulco City for paper and crayons, and we will come back tomorrow. And we did it. Since that time, this protocol has accumulated a substantial body of research with 27 published studies and has been used in its original format or with adaptations to suit the cultural circumstances in numerous places around the world for thousands of survivors of natural or man-made disaster, and with many, many other populations like refugees, children refugees, for example, and circumstances. And the good news, Ross, are that the future is already here because we already have the provision of this protocol online.
Excellent.
To scale up EMDR therapy healing power without frontiers. My team just finished a multi-site, randomized controlled trial on the provision of this protocol remote, online, to healthcare professionals working in 10 hospitals during the COVID-19 pandemic. Participated 80 nurses and medical doctors, and the results will be published this year. And you can take the ASSYST and the EMDR IGTP trainings online in English at www.scalingupemdr.com. And it's funny to take the trainers because we have video demonstrations with real people, with real clients, and how to conduct the protocol. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's amazing. I have signed up just so you know.
Oh, very good.
So
great.
That's brilliant that you've got this research. We look forward to that coming out this year. What I've also found amazing talking to you is that the butterfly hug was from your first experience of using EMDR after that rather dubious training that you started with. And then the second one was your second experience of using EMDR when you came up with the group protocol. I mean, that's amazing. The first two outings, and you've created these amazing things that are being used around the world. So thank you, and for that incredible fire within your belly and within Lucy's belly too. That's enabled you to be so creative in bringing us these techniques and approaches. It's amazing.
Thank you for your words, and I'm so glad you will be trained on the on the procedure. You will love it.
I look forward to it. Nacho, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. We've really enjoyed your stories. Please give our love and thanks to Lucy too for all her hard work and her stories.
Ross, thank you very much for the interview. Laura, thank you very much for the invitation. From Mexico City, butterfly hugs to you.
And butterfly hugs in return. Thank you so much. Past, Present and Future is a Laura Beach production for EMDR UK.